The game of football is filled with large physical specimen, most seemingly invincible. Yet there's still a select group of individuals within the NFL that intimidate the rest. If they could put the fear into these large individuals, then you know for a fact they're scary. Today, we're going to highlight the most intimidating NFL players that stand out from a sport that breeds intimidation. There are those that hurt and terrorize other players, and there are those who have made players question their career choices. So stick around to find out which player was destroying the sport so regularly that he changed how general managers paid players of certain positions. This is the Gridiron. Jack Lambert. Sometimes all intimidation takes is a look. If we didn't even talk about his game, Jack Lambert would still be one of the most intimidating NFL players in history. He was the face of the steel curtain in Pittsburgh through most of the 70s, and when the face of your opponent bearing down on you is missing his four front teeth, you know he has no regard for his own well-being, much less yours. Lambert was a 6'4", 220-pound linebacker. They called him Dracula in cleats. His hard-hitting style was known all across the league, but it wasn't only his brutish tackling ways that scared offenses. With the exception of his last season, he had at least one interception every year he played. Twice, he notched 6 interceptions in a season. His game knew no bounds. In Super Bowl X in 1976, the Steelers were down 10-7 to the Cowboys, and their kicker missed a field goal. Cowboys safety Cliff Harris taunted the Steelers kicker by giving him a thank you tap on the head, to which Lambert took exception to. He threw Harris down on the ground and sent a message: "No one messes with anyone," in the black and yellow. Aaron Donald. To the man who trains against someone holding knives, your hands mean nothing to stop him in a game. You ever wonder why Aaron Donald is virtually unstoppable? He has been known for his intense level of training commitment, sometimes even having his trainer use knives to help him focus on blowing by offensive linemen, starting with hand movement. He puts the fear into linemen, and even more so, the quarterbacks he hunts. In the first game of the 2023 season, the Rams faced the Seahawks. Aaron Donald got loose and was running free at Geno Smith, and you could hear Geno's fear loud and clear over the broadcast.
Third down. Smith, pressure comes late and it's incomplete.
Aaron Donald has made the Pro Bowl all 9 of his seasons from 2014 to 2022. Every year that he's played more than 11 games, he's had at least 8 sacks on the year. Most years he has double-digit sacks. In 2018, he had a league-leading 20.5 sacks. Add to that the 41 quarterback hits he had that year, and you can see he spent a lot of time in the opposing team's backfield. Donald is one of only 3 players to ever win the Defensive Player of the Year award 3 times. He gets double-teamed, triple-teamed, it doesn't matter. He just hurts quarterbacks. Rob Gronkowski. Intimidation doesn't only lie with defensive players. When Rob Gronkowski stepped up to the line of scrimmage, defensive players were nervous. Most linebackers that were tasked with covering the 6'6", 265-pound tight end were too slow, and most defensive backs that could keep up with him were worried about getting embarrassed on TV, as Gronk was too strong and would trample over players. He averaged 15 yards per catch throughout his NFL career. Many of those yards came after contact. Gronk would often drag defenders along his way to a touchdown. Think about this. Rob Gronkowski had 621 career receptions. 92 of them went for touchdowns, roughly 15%. Another 461 went for first downs, roughly 74%, which means that when he caught the ball, 89% of the time it would either be a first down or a touchdown. Too many defenders have clearly failed to stop Gronk, especially when it mattered most. Tyreek Hill. The stature of Tyreek Hill isn't scaring anybody, but if a cornerback doesn't give enough of a cushion between himself and the cheetah, forget about getting embarrassed on TV, he might lose his job. With Gronk, at least there were players that could keep up with him. Tyreek Hill gives defensive backs nightmares knowing they have to cover him. There isn't much you can do with speed, not when you're trying to cover the record-breaking speed of Tyreek. Cornerbacks are intimidated when they're on an island covering Tyreek, because if he gets one step ahead of them, it's over.
Line up the free kick, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5, and high fives!
His 4.29 40-yard dash is good enough to have him in the top 20 of fastest 40-yard dashes of all NFL players ever. His 22.01 mile-per-hour touchdown in Week 5 of the 2023 season is the fastest recorded time by a ball carrier all season.
Now going deep to the far side, caught! It's Hill! Touchdown!
And in his rookie season, he hit 23.24 miles per hour in a game, the fastest recorded time in NFL history. Jack Tatum. Playing most of his career with the Oakland Raiders was Jack Tatum, the assassin. Tatum was 5'10" and 200 pounds, but he used every single inch of his frame to launch into players. His hits were famous for how ruthless they were. Not only did his tackles look vicious, the results were vicious too. Jack Tatum once collided with Earl Campbell at the goal line, which resulted in Campbell scoring a touchdown, but barely. Later on, when doctors saw the clip of Campbell being struck by Tatum and stumbling into the end zone, they believed it to be the reason for Campbell's spinal damage that he would deal with for years. Tatum once delivered a hit so vicious on Patriots wide receiver Darryl Stingley that it paralyzed him from the chest down. Due to the neck injury that Stingley suffered, his career was cut short, and this was just a preseason game. But Tatum isn't the only player to have ended someone's football career. Ray Lewis. You want to talk about fear and intimidation? Then you have to go to the heart of the Ravens defense for close to 2 decades, Ray Lewis. 6'1", 240 pounds. His nickname was Sugar, but when he hit you, it wasn't sweet. He ran like a freight train, and when he hit people, it felt similarly. His huge hits stopped the momentum of even the biggest guys, and even knocked the football loose on numerous occasions. Even Ray's own teammates talked about his next-level ability to get hyped for the games.
When that whistle blow, we unleash hell today. When that whistle blow, we unleash hell.
He's famous for his pre-game speeches, and when you see him running around screaming on the field, he's like a madman. Opponents feared him and his entire team because he had all of Baltimore playing like their hair was on fire. Ray Lewis led the NFL in tackles on 3 separate occasions, and in 1997, his 156 solo tackles is still a record. Ray Lewis was a magnet to the football, and he made his opponents wish that they had never touched it. Dick Butkus. It wouldn't be a list of intimidating players if it didn't include one of the originals, the late, great Dick Butkus. Intimidation is what Butkus was known for in Chicago. He was called the Enforcer, the Animal, the Robot of Destruction. Players hated going up against Butkus. It's bad enough that he laid vicious hits on players. He also had surprising agility to intercept the ball. In the 60s, the NFL wasn't the passing league it is today, and for a middle linebacker to have 22 picks over 9 years, that was scary for quarterbacks in a whole new way. Dick Butkus's playing style can be summed up pretty well by Packers running back MacArthur Lane. If I had a choice, I'd sooner go one-on-one with a grizzly bear than with Butkus. I prayed that I could get up every time that Butkus hit me. The force of Butkus will be remembered forever. Lawrence Taylor. The man who put fear into the hearts of more NFL players than anyone else, Lawrence Taylor. Another of only 3 players to win Defensive Player of the Year 3 times. Also, one of only 2 defensive players to ever win MVP. Lawrence Taylor wrecked games. He brought people down hard and even ended a career. Joe Theismann played his last down of football against LT. When LT sacked Theismann, he broke his leg and officially ended his career. That one play changed the game entirely. General managers knew they had to reprioritize the positions on their teams. And that is why now, most times, the second highest paid player on an NFL team is the left tackle, to defend against guys like Lawrence Taylor. In the case of Lawrence Taylor, though, it was only to attempt to defend against him. No one wants to see any of these faces lined up across from them. They're ruthless. They're game wreckers. They put fear in the hearts of powerful grown men. They did it with speed, power, violence, and maybe even just with that wild look in their eyes.